Hello and welcome back to the Good Grief Pod. We've had a little move around today for those who are watching us on YouTube. We brought the old sofa in, me and Rose are sitting next to each other. It was. And we've got a new special guest.
Hello. Yeah. I don't know where I'm meant to be looking, but hello.
This is my good friend Suzi, and she is joining us today very kindly to talk about her experience with Lyme disease, which she was diagnosed with over a year ago now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say time's gone quick, but it's absolutely not. Yeah, a year ago, I think.
Yeah, so it's been quite a while, quite a journey.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted to get you on here because obviously the podcast is called Good Grief, but we always want to highlight the fact that grief comes in lots of different forms, and that can be something where your life dramatically changes and you kind of grieve your life that you had before, which you very much did.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome to the episode. I'm going to try and say a stat.
Here we go.
Here we go.
No pressure.
So between 2,000 and 3,000 new cases of Lyme disease are diagnosed every year, and that is just ones that have been to the lab and tested. And I think the thing we want to highlight today is how often it can come up untested, unfortunately, and undiagnosed. And that's just in England and Wales. So actually the figures are probably a lot higher than that. I'm going to explain what it is, which I did have my phone for, but I've now realised I haven't got my phone for.
So you've just got to ad-lib.
I'm looking at you, Suze. Can you wink? Sorry, jumped in at the deep end.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to caveat, I know you guys love a caveat on the show. Yeah, I'm not an expert. Obviously, yes, have sort of been diagnosed with it, but I don't know every single thing there is to know about it. What I can tell you, listeners at home, is that it's transmitted by a tick bite primarily, but there's certain types of ticks. So it's like, I think they're called deer ticks or black-legged ticks. So it has to be a specific type of tick that you're bitten by. Not every single tick carries it as well. So maybe that gives people some comfort that it's not just, if you get bitten, then your life is written off.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it can sort of be transmitted in that way. And then there's, kind of different stages, I guess, to Lyme's disease. Mm-hmm. And there's like an early stage, and often it's called localized. So, you might be bitten on your shin or something. You can see the rash. That's often like a really signature bullseye rash. And that can be treated very quickly with antibiotics and hopefully wouldn't get worse. But then there's other stages, and obviously those are like the harder ones to treat. So when it's kind of later stage Lyme, that's where it becomes a bit more difficult. So it's I would say complicated disease. It's not straightforward by any means, and everyone's journey with it is very different. So again, just want to highlight that my experience of it is just that. It's very individual. I can't speak for everybody who's been diagnosed because people's experiences are just so different, but hopefully that gives enough information.
I chucked you in at the deep end there, so well done for answering that question. We will also link a website that I was going to read off under this, but I think you absolutely nailed that, Sue, so well done.
Oh, thank you. Well, I became like an expert overnight, I think, from Googling all of the symptoms, so it's just from that.
Oh, bless you. But yeah, I think we were talking before this, weren't we, about Lyme disease in the media?
Well, yeah, I mean, we spoke briefly about this. I mean, myself and other watchers of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, my only sort of perception of Lyme disease has been created by Yolanda Hadid, and not necessarily by Yolanda, but by the producers and the cast of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, because I think everyone knows, if you don't know, Yolanda Hadid is famous for something. She's a great lady, for sure. But she's on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I'm not sure what any of them are famous for, but they do bring great entertainment.
They do.
She was diagnosed with Lyme disease, and there was a whole segment of her battling Lyme disease and not really knowing like what it was as such, because I know you just said it's quite a complicated disease, and they kind of push, like the producers push, like, oh, is Yolanda really sick? She's just tired all the time, and she's having all these procedures. Does she need them? They were pushing it on the cast. All the women were like, oh, Yolanda's got Lyme disease, and then I mean, the people that I speak to, which I mean, I don't really know how to describe them, but like when I'm like, oh, Lyme disease, what, Yolanda Hadid? And it's like a bit sad. I'm like, all I think about is Yolanda Hadid, and then Justin Timberlake, Lyme disease. So like we see Yolanda, one, getting slated on the show, and two, also being someone that has a really brilliant financial position, and doesn't work sort of like a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, and she's
access to private
access to
healthcare,
everything, access to everything. She's got time, money, and she can just, I don't know, hopefully turn it like a page in a book. But I'm interested to know, because I have got sort of like an ignorant view on it, in the sense that I don't know anything about it apart from what I've heard on that show, which isn't really knowledgeable about diseases.
And I feel like you're definitely not alone. I think for whatever reason there is that association now with Yolanda Hadid. I don't think she ever wanted to be the poster girl, but has become that. But yeah, I think you're definitely right to sort of say that she was slated. I think also from her perspective, what was controversial was that she was kind of really trying to push the narrative about chronic Lyme. So, and some people, well, medical professionals dispute whether that's even a thing. So, it can be quite controversial, but obviously she had access to a lot of, a different financial situation to what most people would have. So she was very experimental, shall we say, in all of the treatments that she was trying. I mean, I think she was getting a lot of sort of raised eyebrows and questions from just what she was doing, because I assume for most people that's not the route you go down. It's not the access you have, and it's not even what the medical professionals would recommend. But I think so from, well, again, can only speak for myself, but it was not like she portrayed it, or it was portrayed. I think the main thing that I can relate to is the fatigue. Like it is crippling. Like, it's almost the word fatigue itself as well I really hate, because it doesn't reflect just how hard it is. And also scary, because like I think you think of fatigue as just, God, really exhausted, really tired, but at certain points it was like I was paralysed. It wasn't like, oh God, I just need a lie down and then I'll be fixed. Like, you're not rested after maybe even like a 10-hour sleep. You're just completely wiped out.
And that was so, like, can you take us back to the start as well, Suze? Because obviously I have the privilege of knowing you as a good friend, and I know how much of a journey it was, but can you take us back to when you first contracted Lyme, and then how that kind of progressed into what you've just highlighted there? And because it went down the hill quite quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, it was quite quick, and there were kind of some telltale signs initially, but I guess to take it all the way back to the start, I was on honeymoon. Don't want to flex, but I was in Hawaii, which was very exciting. We'd really built up this honeymoon because we decided to do it deliberately a year after we got married. So we were just so excited. Your middle name.
She was so she mentioned it in every conversation.
If you don't know me, I will bring up Hawaii now in every conversation. So we were island hopping in Hawaii, but I was first of all struck with this really intense vertigo. I just remember being at one of the airports and feeling like the floor was going to give away, and just out of nowhere I had to grab JJ, my husband, and I was almost like, do you feel that, are we like sharing an earthquake? He was like, no, what's going on?
Must have been so terrifying.
It was really scary. So that was like the first very intense symptom, and that didn't go away for the whole of the honeymoon. So I was kind of battling that intense symptom and just not knowing what it was or where it had come from. Then also the penultimate day, I got chills, like all over, body aches, when you're starting to come down with something. But I thought that maybe I had sunstroke, because obviously the heat in Hawaii is so strong. But I wore a factor 50, and I basically like sunbathed under umbrellas. So I was like, if I've got like heat stroke, that is so unlucky. Not again marrying the two together. That was quite a scary time, because I just felt so unwell out of nowhere, and it kind of ruined the end of our trip a bit. thankfully I was well enough to fly home, and the chills and the kind of fever only lasted for like 24 hours, I'd say.
How was it being on the plane, by the way? Because if you've already got vertigo...
Oh,
that must have
God,
been, like,
yeah.
horrendous.
It's just layers of feeling like a marble in Marble Run is the only way I can
gosh.
describe it. Like,
And it's a long flight as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a long flight. I did try and have a bit of fizz to, you know, I was like, why not just whack in an extra element?
Yeah.
Which strangely helped a bit. Because
There you go, listeners.
Yeah, it just made me not worry as much,
Yeah,
you know, so it
yeah,
kind of calmed me down.
absolutely.
But yeah, the flying was hard, and then when I got back, it kind of got a little bit better, and then it got worse. I then just thought it was jet lag. I was like, but again, not sort of remembering that it started in Hawaii. But yeah, so I actually went to the doctors to try and cure the vertigo, and they looked in my ears, but they couldn't find anything. So they just chalked it off to, oh, maybe you've got like labyrinthitis. You did say you've had ear problems as a kid, and you've just been swimming and flying. You've probably just done something to your ear.
Yeah.
So obviously you believe the doctors.
Yeah.
I was sent away with some random tablets that were meant to help the vertigo. Spoiler, they didn't help at all. And then, yeah, I was just battling that, and I couldn't leave the house really, because I just felt like everything was going to fall on me. Like I had no perception. And then I went back to the doctors and just really had to advocate for myself and say, I'm not well. I don't know what's happening. I think I need a blood test. And they were like, well, we can, you know, if you think you really need it. I was like, I really need it. Something's going wrong. Anyway, then I got the blood test results back, and the first thing they found was that I've got like pernicious anemia, which is a B12 deficiency, which means I've now got to be on injections for the rest of my life. But at least they'd found that. Because I had lots of weird and wonderful symptoms that my doctor, that's how she sort of described it. But then they found in the blood test the positive serology report, which is for this bacteria that's Borrelia burgdorferi, which is the Lyme's disease bacteria. But it was strange when they gave me that result, because I was like, oh, I think you've got that wrong. Like, there's something wrong with my ears, or, you know, vertigo, or maybe in the brain, but it's not you know, something that's got into my blood or my nervous system. But yeah, they just said, oh, okay, we'll keep an eye out for any other symptoms that come up. And then maybe like a week later, I remember waking up and feeling like I had the worst hangover of my life. And for once, I hadn't drank the day before. So I was like, it's not a hangover.
Yeah.
But everything ached. It was just like I had cement on me. Like I had like inflamed joints. Like there was just pain up and down my legs and my arms. I felt really sick. There was just so many. I can't even remember what all the symptoms were. I remember kind of feeling like, am I making this up, because this doesn't make sense? And yeah, I was just kind of losing track of all of the symptoms that came initially, which then also turned into like neurological symptoms like brain fog. Honestly, I still kind of have that now, where sometimes I'll just forget words or don't really know what I'm doing. But yeah, so there was a lot of different symptoms that kind of came along.
Sounds like terrifying for your body to take such a turn, because I mean, beforehand, Sue's just been promoted at work, was absolutely smashing it in terms of sales, like going to events, socialising. Like, you are such a social butterfly.
Oh God,
so
I love
see that turn.
Burning the candle at all the ends. Like, if I had more ends, they would be lit. Like, I didn't like slowing down. Yeah, always socialising. And I remember, because we just got married, me and JJ were just saying, like, should we just really live it this year? Should we just send it? And we did. Like, we were having the most fun. But obviously that kind of paints a picture of how hard it was then, the contrast of really living life, like, just, it was wild.
It's just, like, frightening how quickly your life can change. I mean, so do you think then, I guess you picked something up in Hawaii, or you still don't really know?
So, no, Hawaii don't have these ticks. So I couldn't have picked it up there.
Right.
What they think happened that was more probable was maybe picking it up at Glastonbury, because also they let the deer graze on the land. You know, there's a fallow year.
Right, okay.
So that's apparently quite a big point of contention at Glastonbury, whether they should be letting them do that.
No more, please.
Yes, please. I would be on the side of no. Or just generally around where we live, because in Bath there's hot spots for, you know, ticks. So we don't really know where I picked it up from. The doctor seems to think maybe Glastonbury. She was like, everybody got it there. But that makes me sad, because I love Glastonbury and I don't want to associate it with something like that, you know? I want to go back if I can.
Did you know much about Lyme disease before? So you obviously got told that you had the bacteria, or well, it was in your blood.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know anything about it then? And did you think like, oh, I'm going to go home and Google it and stuff? Or were you just like, did it all just like hit you in one moment and then you think, how is this real? Like,
yeah, I think, like most people, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And I also thought, we were talking about this earlier, but I thought that it was associated with like older people.
Mm-hmm.
Genuinely, I did. So I genuinely thought that the doctors had got it wrong, because I was like, I don't have Lyme disease. Like, what is this? But yeah, no, had no idea really about any of it except for the worst stories. So that's when, you know, I guess when you get a diagnosis, everyone brings in stories from their aunts and their aunt's cousin and their aunt's cousin's friend.
Yeah.
And it's always just the worst outcome you can imagine. So when I got the diagnosis, it was initially a relief to find that there was something wrong and I wasn't making it up.
Yeah.
And then also worry and frustration, because it just sounded like this incurable thing that I would now have to live with for the rest of my life. And given the way I felt at the time, I was like, I can't do this. If this is like life for me, you know, it would just be too much. So, yeah, it was, there was just so many emotions that came with the diagnosis, I think.
I think obviously talking about the actual way it impacted your body is crazy, because it just kind of, it's like your body shuts down almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the mental side of it, because I hope you don't mind me saying, but I know you were in a really dark place, and I hated seeing you like it. It was really hard as a friend to see you going through that, and I can't imagine what it felt like to know that something's wrong but not be able to explain it to a doctor and just not get the answers before you got to that point where it was confirmed.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I'm so grateful to JJ for everything, but I would say having that person in your corner at the doctor's appointments, because there were so many doctor's appointments, especially trying to figure out what was wrong initially, and I felt like I lost so much blood because we were like, another blood test. But having him there to advocate for me helped so much, because like I said, you know, you get a bit of brain fog, and I literally had to make a note of all the symptoms on my phone, and there was honestly probably about 30 different symptoms, and I sort of got the feeling when I was speaking to the doctors that they weren't taking me seriously. But when JJ was there and could almost explain it from an external point of view, they seemed to then listen a bit more. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because he's a man. I'm not sure. I would like to think that's not the case, but it's just so difficult, I think, to try and relay to somebody without them, or without you thinking that they're believing you or not.
It must have been such a mental battle for you, just to have your life change so dramatically, but be in that darkness and trying, like, I mean, obviously you couldn't get up every day, but like to mentally try and, you know, combat those blocks, because it must have been so awful.
Yeah, I think the mental side of it was probably the hardest. I mean, physically, to have your, you know, physical capabilities ripped away overnight was so tough, because it's, you know, not only can you not walk or do anything for yourself, it's the freedom. Like, you don't have the freedom to choose what you need to do that day. Or honestly, you know, JJ would be like showering me. I would say every morning, but it wasn't, because some days I just didn't have the energy to even sit in the bath and be showered. But yeah, the mental side of it was the most challenging thing I think I've ever experienced, because it, like, you didn't know how long this was going to go on for. And just like the loneliness was really hard, because nobody can relate. I didn't know anybody who had gone through something like this. and you don't really know if what you're feeling is the right thing or not. And I think there was strangely like a lot of shame as well, because I really unhelpfully was telling myself, oh, I'm sure that somebody else would be able to deal with this so much better than I would, and you know, they'd be able to bounce back and this wouldn't happen to anyone else. And I don't know if that's like a protective thing of your brain. I mean, it's not helping, but I was just in quite a strange place mentally, and like I wouldn't say like I was suicidal, but sorry.
It's okay.
It's hard to like hear it out loud, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was suicidal, but there were days where you would just think like, if this is it,
Yeah.
like I'm ready.
Yeah.
Which is so like strange to say out loud, because like I love life, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would have never thought that I would have found myself in that situation, but you do go through really dark times, because I think you just don't know how long it's going to go on for, and you really are like mourning the life that you had before. And yeah, I guess it's that identity, you know, like we all have a way that we kind of present to the world and people see us, and I just kind of thought like, if I can't be like that, then who am I? And you know, you kind of almost mourn like friendships or just anything that you could do before, and you're just kind of living a completely different life. So thank you.
I've got to ask, like, how did, like, I mean, just to take you back into that deep trauma.
Well, we're in it now, let's do it.
What, I'm just fascinated, like, what did, like, 'cause obviously from what I've heard from Maz, even before, like, meeting you, like, you were so full of life. How, aside from mentally, what did a normal day sort of look for you when you was really in the thick of it? Like, I just can't imagine, you know, the mental side, but also just knowing, like, another day of really struggling with this, like,
and you're just kind of like hitting your head against a wall, because nothing's different. Like, all of the days look the same. And I think again, that was one of the hardest parts, was just trying to get the strength and mental stamina just to carry on, to wake up every day knowing that the only thing you have waiting for you is maybe meditation or rest, you know. Like, I was doing I wasn't really doing anything. Like, at the points where the fatigue was so bad, I couldn't watch TV because that would make me crash. I couldn't talk to friends because that would make me crash. So I had to choose between having some social interaction that day or just getting through the day. So it kind of looked like, so JJ would shower me some mornings, and then he'd kind of just like leave me on the sofa, but he was such a babe, he would literally like ply our coffee table with like 4 pints of water, grapes, sweets, crisps, whatever I might want, just because obviously he was going to work as well, so he wasn't there to look after me, which I know he really struggled with. But like, going to the toilet was hard. I had no energy, and I used to dread, honestly, needing the toilet, because I was like, I'd have to psych myself up and, you know, almost like army crawl to the toilet, go for a wait, and then sit back on the sofa and be like, I did it. I'm so pleased, you know, like, I'm so proud of myself. So, it was just a lot of time in my own head, which I think a lot of people would struggle with. I know we've spoken before about how hard it is just to not have something to do. And I think there was a lot of reflecting, which probably made it feel worse as well. And sometimes I'd have like, my mum would come round and bring me some soup and do a bit of cleaning, but then she'd have to leave because it was like, I can't even have anyone else in the house because I will just crash. Like, I've got zero energy to give anyone. So, yeah.
I remember like little wins for you. Little wins for me. For you were absolutely huge. Like, I remember a few months in. Well, I can't remember, like 6 months in maybe. But you said like that you had a shower stood up for the first time.
Oh my god, it was revolutionary.
It was like that.
Oh
it was
God.
crazy. Like, it was.
And even then, I was like shaking, being like, "Can I do this? Who do I think I am to stand up in the shower on my own?" You know. And I remember I'd have to almost try and do it without JJ knowing, because then he'd be like, "Stop!" I'll help you. So I did it once, and then I had to tell him after, and he was like, you did what?
No.
But yeah, we definitely celebrated all the little wins, and I would say that's a massive thing that you can do, because they are just incremental steps forward, but they make all the difference.
I think, I always try and, as well, frame it for you, because I think sometimes you message me and you're like, oh, I've done this, but I always try and remind you of how far you've come, because I think you've already said today, you forget, because in the moment there was so much, but the journey you've been on, Suze, has been astounding. I think, like, it's incredible, like, absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and you are so good for this as well. I think I'm very hard on myself, and I'll be like, God, I haven't done enough today, or I wish that I was just back to normal. And you're really good at being like, Suze, you have gone through so much. Reflect on where you are now and remember where you've come from. And I honestly don't even recognise the person that was, you know, lying on that sofa feeling so sorry for herself and feeling like I'd never get out. So it's always a good idea to see where you've come from, I think.
Definitely. Would you say you struggle sort of mentally, in the sense with almost like anxiety, where you're like, oh God, I can never like go back there? Or do you like fear, I don't know, I can't imagine what it's like getting like flu or something, because I can imagine like you've been through so much like physical and mental strain, you never want to go back there. I'm not saying like it's going to be that bad again, but you know, sometimes you can get a cold and you're like, I can't get out of bed, and it's not to, you know, diminish what you've been through, but it's like, I can't imagine for you what it's like to then just face the fact of like a little taster of all of this nightmare that you've just had to combat.
Yeah, I think definitely anxiety. I will hold my hands up and say now, I absolutely have health anxiety, which is frustrating, because when I first went into the doctors, they were like, oh, do you suffer with health anxiety, do you think? And I was like, no, I don't go to the doctors unless I really, really need to. Whereas now, frustratingly, I have developed a fear of getting ill, of crashing at the worst times, because the crippling fatigue really does and did come at the most unpredictable times. But I think that is what keeps us in this fight or flight state, which is so bad for your body. Like, everybody knows that stress is bad for the body, right? Like, cortisol levels can just wreak havoc on your systems, but it really is that fear that then keeps you stuck. So I think it's an inevitable part of recovery, but it is also just the most unhelpful thing you can have in your brain.
If you're feeling overwhelmed, anxious, or disconnected, you're not alone. I'm Dan Roberts, an internal family systems therapist and trauma healing specialist. I create guided meditations to help you reconnect with your inner calm and compassion. These practices are rooted in internal family systems therapy and are designed to support your healing journey, whether you're new to therapy or have been on this path for a while. You can find my full collection of meditations at danroberts.com or on Insight Timer.
Wonderful husband.
Love him. Shout out JJ.
Yeah, shout out JJ.
Big up.
But obviously he had to work. There was a financial strain on you guys having that length of time off work, and obviously you didn't know at the beginning it would look like that. But it must have been so hard for him to not only have to, you know, look after you when he had those moments, but have to leave you in that really bad state every day.
Yeah, and like, we're not good at leaving each other anyway. We're so needy. We always say, like I said in my wedding vows, I miss him especially on a Monday, because, you know, after a weekend, you're just like, oh. So that was hard anyway, just because of the way we are. But yeah, God, I mean, if suffering with it was one thing, I really just can't imagine how tough it must have been from the outside, seeing the person you love the most going through something so horrible and unrelenting and not being able to do anything about it. I think, like, our relationship almost is, I mean, I just become like a complete princess around him. Like, I just, you know, let him do stuff. And we have kind of a running joke where it's like, I say that he does the husband things. So like taking out the bins, I'll just be like, oh, I think that's a husband thing. And, like, and he will do it, you know, he'll rise to the challenge. But like, this wasn't a husband thing, you know, this wasn't something that he could just roll up his sleeves and fix. Like, he really, really wanted to. But yeah, he would just, I think he felt completely helpless, but he helped so much. I mean, overnight he became like my personal chef. He would remind me to take all my tablets. He was like my living carer, you know, and nobody knows they're going to suddenly have to become that. Like, well, I mean, I think I cashed in sickness and in health vow pretty quickly.
It's a bit too literally.
Yeah, it was like, well, we're a year in, come on. So yeah, no, so he was doing all of that, but then he was going to work every day and he didn't take any time off. I don't know how he did it, and his job is like public facing, so it wasn't like even if he was having a bad day he could half-arse it and just sit in the back, like you know, he was on camera every day. And so he really, I think he probably just put on a game face, because then he'd come home, and again, I can't really imagine how that must have felt to walk through the door and not know what you're walking into. I just think the emotional toll of that, like I just don't know how he did it. And he was so strong, but also one of the hardest things was that I know that he was just trying to be strong for me. We were kind of trying to be strong for each other. Like, we would communicate how we were feeling, but you know, he'd come in and see me and I'd be led on the sofa and he'd almost be like, you know, right, I'll go and make you some dinner. It was really hard because I wanted to be like, how was your day? You know, just have a chat. And I had no energy for that. And then I would like hear him go into the kitchen, turn on the music and then cry. And I was like, oh, this is so sad. Yeah. But yeah, he was just so strong, right? Honestly, just my rock, like amazing.
And I think as well, like, I mean, this doesn't ever come at a good time, but just the timing of it was so cruel for you guys, you know. A year into married life, honeymoon
it's
should
meant to be great.
Exactly, it was so unfair, but fair play to the guy. I mean,
I know. Well, like, you know, my family and friends have just been like, fair play to him, because he massively stepped up. It wasn't like he wasn't doing anything anyway. Yeah. But I do think a lot of people in that situation wouldn't know what to do, because like we've said, it's just a never-ending illness. Like, you don't know when it's going to end, and you also don't know if that's going to be your life from there in on. And yeah, he just couldn't have stepped up more, I think, and I genuinely don't know where I would be without him. So get yourself a JJ.
Cheers to JJ.
Cheers to JJ.
Sorry, awkward silence.
So now, what was sort of like I don't want to say turning point, because I don't want to diminish like everything you're still going through. What's life like for you now? When did you start noticing like a shift from the days where opening your eyes was difficult to sort of thinking, you know, you can stand in the shower on your own, sort of thing?
Yeah. I think I have to shout out my amazing kinesiologist, Sinead Pelly. She definitely won't be listening, but big up Sinead. So I would say going to see Sinead was just a really big turning point for me, because I think you get to a point with the NHS, I mean, God bless the NHS, but they are so overstretched, and if they can't give you a tablet or an antibiotic for what you're dealing with, there's nothing else they can do for you. Yeah. And it was then that I was really struggling with knowing where to go. That my mum actually recommended her. She'd been to see her, and I just think there is such a huge space for complementary medicine, alternative medicine, and Sinead just gave me extra support. So if you don't know what kinesiology is, I can't say that I will do this justice at all, but I think it's like muscle monitoring. So they basically assess your strength, I think, to see what nutritional deficiencies you might have, any imbalances, and then often will get you on a protocol or some supplements that they think you need. So straight away, I remember it was late in November, so probably about 2 months into the illness, and yeah, I remember her telling my parents, like, we're going to get her stronger by Christmas. And the second she got me on these additional supplements, initially I was sceptical, but they helped almost like immediately. So I would say that was a huge turning point. But it's not just about the additional medication and things that you can take. I think she worked wonders for just that mental fortitude, like not letting you think that all hope was lost, which I think is just paramount if you're going through something like that. But yeah, I would say that was the start of the up. It happened very, very slowly, and it wasn't linear at all. It was like up and down, roundabout. Lots of kitchen floor resets, again with JJ. But yeah, we got there eventually. But I would say, honestly, like, don't sleep on holistic healing.
That's really,
that is really
important, I think. Can I jump in and say something that I've learned from your journey, which is terrible? So, first of all, I've learned your resilience. I honestly don't know how you've done it, and I think that is incredibly commendable. So, shout out to you, first of all. But unfortunately, I learned how quickly life can turn for your own personal kind of life in terms of illness and the strain it put on you financially. And I'm sorry to say, but I got income protection after.
No, I'm so glad that you did.
I think you sometimes do learn the hard way. I got life insurance when Vince died, and I got income protection when you were going through this. And I think to the listeners, if you don't have those things in place, it was an added pressure for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, honestly, like overnight, my salary was just wiped out. And okay, we're dinks, you know, dual income, no kids. So it wasn't that bad. It could have been worse. But yeah, JJ had to become like the sole financial provider for us. And that was so tough because, you know, he's not a millionaire. And we needed both of our incomes. Thankfully, we had family who were very happy to help if we needed it. We had some savings that we could dip into. And I would also say on that note, just trying to get some kind of emergency fund together before anything like this happens. It's one of those things where you're like, with the best will in the world, yeah, of course I'll do that. But genuinely, you don't know when these things are going to strike. They always come at the worst times. But yeah, I'd say like income protection, and also just like knowing about benefits and things. I had absolutely no idea what was available to support you, you know, whilst you're going through something where you can't work. So even just being aware of the support available, I would recommend.
Yeah, definitely. And is there, I mean, what's been your lessons in all of this? I feel like you've learned more about yourself ever.
God, yeah, so much. I think, yeah, like, as you guys will know, you know, just the resilience that you have in your arsenal that you didn't realise you did. Because, I mean, I guess there's no other option, is there? When something like that just knocks you for six, whether it's emotionally, physically, somehow you just pull out this strength and you just put one foot in front of the other. But yeah, I never would have thought I could do that. What else have I learned? I think just that I can be happy and we can be happy with very little, because at the end of the day, all that really matters is the people that you love, spending time with them. I didn't felt like I wanted to, like, well, ironically, rush on holiday, but it was just I wanted to be able to sit with friends and have a conversation like this. Like, this means everything to me now, because I couldn't have ever pictured that I'd be able to sit here and have the energy to get a train to Frome and, you know, like have conversations. So I think, you know, without sounding really cliche, you just realise that you love the little things in life, and that's what you've missed, and just being grateful for every day, I think.
I think that's so,
not a truer word.
Yeah.
Not a truer
hit the
word.
nail on the head there. I think things like this though do really make you reflect on what's important and put things in perspective, and make you realise that you should be grateful for the little things like you've just said. I mean, this is something that we talk about all the time on the pod.
All the time. And I feel like even now, like, much like yourself, like you tend to not lose focus on that. You don't lose sight on it, no matter how, you know, you might have a really good day and you're like, oh God, life's amazing, can't wait for this, can't wait to plan this in 5 years' time. And then you're like, no, like, things can change really quickly. And, you know, again, all the plans that you make, they're not promised, and it sounds so horrible and so cruel, but every day is so important. And like, I mean, no one wants to hear that because it's just like, oh, I've had a rubbish day at work or something like that. But it is, isn't it?
Yeah, and people being like, but you get to go to work.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I know, but that was a really rubbish day. Yeah.
I do. I think it's just a good. It gives you a new outlook on life, and sadly, sometimes things like this have to happen for you to change your perspective. And I'm not saying that any of us were negative minded before, because I don't think we were. But I think, you know, we were grateful people, but it does really shift your mindset completely.
Yeah, and I had to. I remember just making notes on my phone. I mean, what else could I do? I was literally lying horizontal on the sofa. But even though I wanted to forget all of this time, I also didn't want to forget, because I wanted to remember the things that I wished for, which were honestly as trivial as, I want to be able to stand up whilst I'm brushing my teeth. And that I almost had like a bucket list of stuff post illness, and the excitement that I got from just ticking it off to be like, oh, I could stand while I was brushing my teeth today. Like, again, it just seems so menial, but at the time it was everything. So yeah, I just think it really teaches you not to take anything for granted. And I think I now kind of don't feel like I can live life any other way. Like, I just wake up, and at the time, I know, you know, we talked a lot about this, but I also went through, or we as a family went through our fair share of bereavement too. So we lost 3 family members in 3 months, and it was like, whilst I was ill, God, talk about kicking somebody when they're down. So I think, again, that's kind of compounded the feeling of just like, God, aren't we just lucky to be here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we're alive, we're here. It's like that Travis song. What is it? Time is running out, you want to stay alive? It's like, oh, Travis, like,
you
never
nailed
a truer word spoken.
I don't know if there's any more questions you have, Suze.
Oh, God. I feel like I could ask you
Feel
so many.
yeah.
It's just fascinating and amazing to see you, like, sitting here, and I mean, I've only heard from Maz, like, surface level what you've been going through, and yeah, just insane. It's not a question, it's just it's just a statement, I guess.
Well, thank you. And I think, I mean, for me as well, it just gives me so much respect and admiration for the people who are going through life-limiting diseases and illnesses and, you know, incurable illnesses. I mean, when I was in the depths of the illness, you do think, okay, right, this is what I'm going to have to live with. But yeah, there's like a newfound admiration for people who do have to battle with this daily. And I'm not even saying that I'm fully out the other side, because I still do have days where my energy just dips so profusely, which isn't something that I had to deal with before. I kind of had like boundless energy, and I'd always just, like I said, burn the candle at all the ends, push through. But, you know, you do have to kind of take it. I think it's a good reminder to slow down when you need as well.
Yeah, listen to your body when it needs it. And I feel like you've been doing that much better now, haven't you? Before, like you said, you were just
what was a boundary before? I have no idea. And I think you guys even said, you know, you learn boundary setting just because you have to, you have to protect your mental health, physical health. You know, going through grief from bereavement is just a battle in itself. But yeah, I think it's really taught me a few lifelong lessons in just how to look after yourself, really.
Oh, God, what an app. I feel like...
Sorry, I also feel like I just spilled my whole brain
amazing.
onto you.
It was
and
brilliant.
Probably should come with a trigger warning, but yeah.
That was, I mean, thank you for being so vulnerable.
Thank you so much.
Just I've just seeing the journey you've been on, how far you've come. Like, honestly, it makes me feel a bit emotional talking about it, because it's just
sorry.
like as a friend, like I've seen how hard it's been at points. So like to see you here now is just wonderful. So thank you so much for coming on and having
thank you so much for inviting me, honestly. And I have to give a shout out to you guys, because this is just incredible. What you two are doing is insane, and I think, you know, channeling something that's so tough and heartbreaking and up and down into something like this, like, you've given so many more people than you'd know an incredible resource, and I'm just fangirling now. I love you guys.
Right, I think we all deserve a pint, don't you?
Oh God, a stiff drink, I think, after that.
You know who else does? Amanda Hadid.
Yolanda! God, we need to give her a cheers as well.
Shout
She's
out.
been through a
For
lot.
real.
She has.
And shame on all of you housewives.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Lisa Rinna as
Yeah.
well, in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love her, but on that
I
front,
don't know
no.
if I do anymore.
Change perspective. But yeah, thanks.
Thank you
Suze. We
so
love
much.
you.
Oh, I love you too.